All right.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the European and Russians Study presentation. Thanks for joining us for our virtual March open house today and for attending this session. Before we get started, a couple things I would like to mention. Well, first of all, my name is Sarah. I am a member of the recruitment office at Carleton. And although we're meeting here virtually today, it's really important for us to recognize that the Carleton campus is situated on the unceded territory of the Algonquin Nation. A reminder before we start the presentation that feel free to use the chat to engage or ask questions. There's also a Q&A section on the side where you can ask any questions for the presenters at any time during the presentation. I also encourage you to head over to the Student Services booth to check out everything else that Carleton has to offer, from co-op to residence to awards. There's a lot of great things to check out there, and we have reps available to talk to you today. So I will introduce Dr. Geiger and student Philip, who will be leading us through all about European and Russian studies today.
Hello, and everyone. Nice to meet you, and good to see you. And we have a few participants I see jumping in and jumping off on my screen here. So my name is Dr. Martin Geiger. I'm a professor in the Institute of European, Russian, and Eurasian Studies, and I'm also the undergrad supervisor. And I'm joined here by Philip was, who is a student in our program. Maybe, Philip, you just say a few words what you have been doing at Carleton and in this program, and yeah.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Philip. I'm a third-year student in Global International Studies, but my specialization is Europe and Russia in the world, and that's why I'm affiliated with European and Russian Studies. Yeah, I've been in the specialization for 3 years now, and it's been great. And I'm really excited to tell you guys about kind of like the details and the community and kind of the atmosphere that Eurus provides, and I think it's really something that's great, and I think it's really something you guys should take under consideration.
Yeah, that's great, and thanks for doing this today, Philip. Yeah, and usually what we do, we start usually asking people in which program stream they are actually interested in. So Philip just mentioned that he's actually a student in global and international studies and has then a concentration on Euros. So I was wondering, people here attending this session, what kind of program stream are you interested in? Because then we will just also focus on these programs then. Maybe could you just write in the chat box, yeah, what's your particular interest? I don't see anyone replying. That means for me that you are interested in all the streams and perhaps just in the program itself in the institute and so on. So I would just start then introducing to you our program. And then once we reach the different concentrations or program streams, I would ask again whether there's any particular interest in this program stream. And yeah, you could just then write your question in the chat box. So I'm gonna get started, and I hope you then see also yeah, my presentation. 1 second, I'm asked for some kind of authorization here. 1 second. Yes. So it doesn't work, unfortunately. I have to do it again, maybe. Okay, I think we are here. Yes. I think I need assistance. Sarah, if you could help me. I tried to share the screen, but it doesn't let me.
Okay, no worries. So what happens when you hit the present to audience button at the bottom?
Yes.
Yeah,
So I click on share screen, and then what comes is I see the different windows. I click on the window where I see the PowerPoint, and then I click on share. But unfortunately, then comes a message like your browser is not allowed to share the screen or something like that.
Okay. Do you happen to have Chrome?
Yes.
Maybe try using that browser, possible. Well, why don't you send it to me and I can share it alternatively?
I have Chrome open, so I'm going to send it to you by email, all right?
Sure, I will do that.
One second. We'll fix that. I'm very sorry about this.
Okay.
So Sarah Bradfield, right? Yes, I actually see you there. So 1 second.
Hi, everyone. If you've just jumped into the session, we're just opening up a presentation. Shouldn't be too long, but thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, what I will do just to make sure, Philip, I'm also going to send it to you. However, I see it's taking quite a bit of time here uploading. So I'm not sure what to do.
Professor, if you'd like, I could just try and put it up because I have Could you send me the email with it?
Yes.
So
you have the old one, and we can use it because there's only the first slide is different. So let's use the. I'm gonna send it now. Sarah, did you get it? Did you receive it?
Not yet, but
should be in a second. I hope. Nowish.
Not yet. How about?
Yeah, Philip, then go ahead.
Yeah, maybe that might be.
Yes. How good that we have this as backup. Yeah.
So thanks to everyone for your patience. If you just.
Yeah, I'm very sorry for these technical issues.
Oh, actually, you know what? I was able to pull it
up
here.
Sarah, then go ahead, and you have the most recent updated version.
No worries, in the nick of time. That's great.
Yeah, hello everyone that just joined. We're gonna fix it now, the technical issue, I think. So my name is Dr. Martin Geiger. I'm the undergraduate supervisor in Euros, and I'm joined by Philip Voss, a student in our program. And what I was asking right at the beginning was actually whether people attending now have a particular interest in a certain stream of our program, or if they have just a general interest and want to learn about all the programs. So I just wanted to field that question first. If you would like to flag, what program stream you're particularly interested in. And please use the chat box. Yeah, still people joining us. So I think we have enough time. We'll just get started with this PowerPoint slide I have prepared, but unfortunately myself, I'm unable to share. So this is the slide. Great, thank you so much. What I will do is just to say each time that you switch the slide that you know. Yeah. So my name is Martin Gaga. I'm the undergraduate advisor, and welcome to today's presentation of the Institute of European, Russian, and Eurasian Studies and our undergraduate program. Yeah. Next slide, please. So the Institute of European, Russian and Eurasian Studies, or in short, EUROS, is a leading teaching and research institution in North America. And from its beginning as a committee in 1963, and then when it became an institute, EUROS has really been a leader and at the forefront of European, Russian and Eurasian studies in the whole of Northern America. And well, we have quite a few experts in our program, and we offer constantly new courses and interestingly and timely new content with a great variety of programs. Right now, for example, I'm teaching myself a course which focuses on the socio and political impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic, and with a particular geographical focus on Europe, Russia, and also Central Asia and other parts of Eurasia. Yeah. So why to study Europe and Russia? Well, unfortunately, I have to say, well, we have unfortunately a war right now going on in Ukraine, and many of our colleagues and students have been working on Ukraine and Russia, relations between Russia and the European Union, and many of the topics. Myself, for example, I've done even part of my PhD in Ukraine, and have been teaching also in Russia. So we have quite a link to the region, and I think it's rather timely to understand Russia, to try to understand Russia, to try to understand the future, what it might hold, and also what the future might hold for Ukraine and for overall the European region. So I don't have to say too much about why to study Europe, and I think and Russia, and I think there might be even a greater demand now going forward to especially also in Canada, in other countries, to understand and to have that knowledge and actually try to gain new knowledge and insights into that region. So it's a diverse and continuously evolving region, and unfortunately also we had quite a few conflicts in recent years, and now this very, very unfortunate situation. The region is globally relevant. The European Union itself is the largest single market in the world. It's not NAFTA, it's the European Union. And regional expertise, we think, and we know, will make you competitive in the job market. Why can we so boldly state that? Well, because many of our students are working in global affairs, working also in private corporate businesses that need expertise on the region. We have a few people that also during their studies intern, for example, for one of the embassies. And a lot of people are also abroad. We have also a few students that actually are successful journalists and research, continue to research the region. And of course, we have also academics, junior academics coming out of our program. So across the board, our program is quite successful, and we have really good feedback also with our former students, an alumni network. And yeah, so many companies need information, updated knowledge on Europe and Russia. And we have also in the program the opportunity for all the students to acquire a second or maybe even a third language. And I think especially the languages are really handy and necessary more than ever to gain, to have actually more than just one language or more than just two languages. And students, previous years, well, we had the pandemic. It was particular circumstances, right? But usually our students are quite a bit of travelers, and also there's a youth study program that goes actually to the European Union and visiting the institutions. And yeah, we can talk a bit about this later on. So I just want to bring in Philip. And Philip, maybe you can just say a few words what actually interested you most to study that program, and what have you been experiencing as of now and so far in this program, and what were probably your your main, let's say, what would you say are like the main pros of this program? What would you think? Say.
Yeah, of course. So just in case somebody new jumped in, my name is Philip, and I'm a third-year undergraduate student in global international studies, but my specialization is Europe and Russia, and that's why I'm affiliated with the European Russian Eurasian Studies. So I chose EURUS as my specialization because I'm somebody of Polish background. So my parents are Polish and I'm first generation. And the region has always interested me. I've been to Europe many times. And it's such a fascinating cultural place, culturally, politically, socially, and as unfortunately as we could see now, it's still a place that is it's very much relevant in today's politics and today's time. A lot of people think that kind of Europe and Russia, it's the old world. It's not relevant anymore. As we could see now, that's not the case. For better or for worse. And I think the main thing to me that stood out about EURUS is it's unlike any other undergraduate program that I've really heard about, talking to my friends and fellow students and colleagues. Pretty much the first day I came to university, kind of a baby-faced kid. I go on campus and I meet with the EURUS staff, and it's just me and a few other people. And I'm welcomed like I've never been welcomed towards any other institution on campus. I'm given a tour of the EURUS facilities. I'm introduced to all the top professors, and these are people who these are professors who are very much experts. They mostly, a lot of them mostly teach master's students, and they're talking to me, somebody who's a who's a first year student. So I think, for me, the greatest part of EURUS is the community aspect of it, and the fact that you will always be treated as one of theirs, no matter whether you're an undergraduate student, when you're a second year student, when you're a third, fourth year, or whether you're a master's student. Immediately when I met them, I was put on the EURUS mailing list, and EURUS has, and of course this was pre-pandemic, but still we have virtual meetings. EURUS has fantastic guest speakers. They have fantastic faculty. For example, there's a professor who's called Piotr Dudkiewicz, and he is on, or well, I don't know if he is anymore, but he's in Putin's Valdai group, which is kind of a circle of intellectuals that meets with Putin. So this is somebody who has met Putin, who has interacted with Putin, and he's teaching in the faculty. First year, again, I went to an in-person meeting with the deputy Russian ambassador in Canada, which was extremely interesting. And it's like, you're kind of sitting there and it's like, whoa, like these are people who are very, very high up in kind of in politics in Russia, and I'm sitting in the same room as them, and I'm a first year. I've met other tremendous experts. Lee Sardi, he's affiliated with EURUS. I don't believe he's a EURUS prof, but he's affiliated with EURUS, and he was the charge d'affaires, so number 2 in the Russian embassy, in the Canadian embassy in Russia throughout the 90s. So very interesting things to hear from him. So, this is and funnily enough, despite all these experts and experience, EURUS is a very small program. So, you have this great combination of fantastic faculty who are very welcoming, very friendly, are willing to talk to you no matter who you are, yet there's only a few people. So it's really kind of a hidden gem at Carleton. And that's something that I personally love about EURUS. And yeah, I would very much recommend it if you're interested in European and Russian affairs, because I've learned so much history, politics, economics about the region, and it's truly a great course, guys. I think you should really check it out.
Great. We'll do that a few more times and bring Philip in. And also feel free then to write your questions on the side. I forgot to mention, if you have any question at some point, just raise your hand and just write it in the chat box, because we can then just continue. Is it possible to minor in this with a major in biology? actually haven't done that and haven't had that. We would have to figure out. But Philip, do you know about that? Did we have any biology students so far? Yes, please go ahead.
Sorry, just 1 second. My mic takes a while to turn on.
Okay.
But you know what's funny? I actually think that yes, I think that there is somebody, because I remember Professor Bijou actually mentioned that there was a student coming in who was a biology major or around that, some sort of
Yeah,
you know,
we
sort of
would have to
science.
figure that out. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
and
So
they were
it's a very
wondering.
particular question, but
Yeah.
why not to figure that out? So if I cannot answer the question today, I hope some questions I can answer, but this one is a very particular one. Really feel free to write me an email, and there will be an email. My email address will be shown up at the end of the presentation. But it's very simple because you see my name on the screen. You would just write Martin.Geiger, so just the name you see, at carleton.ca. And yeah, so just send me an email and we'll check it for you. Yeah. So let's continue. Sarah, please, next slide. Yeah, Philip already mentioned our actually offices, and yeah, we are a small program, and we are yeah, we have an advantage. We are situated in one of the flagship buildings, brand new buildings of Carleton University, right next to fantastic. Also, green is outside, and you can sit there outside, and it's great. And yeah, you see the river there a bit in the background, right? So yeah, so this is the building we are. And what's also perhaps interesting, you see that on the bottom right side, this space there, it's actually conference space. So often there are conferences held, also organized by one of our faculty members, events and so on. And of course, we hope we get back to this very soon, and this pandemic is over now. So you have this great space, and it's immediately there where our institute is also located. You see this in the background, this bridge. So not the top one, but the one below, the first bridge. That's actually where our institute is. So if you would go on that pathway there, you would right enter actually our institute. Well, let's move on. Next slide. Yeah, so our program and all our faculty members, we are quite interdisciplinary. I myself, by training, a geographer, but I'm working in the political science department as well. And I have a minor in sociology, and I teach also very much from a sociological standpoint, and not just from IR, not just from political science, not just from geography. Our director, Professor Bijou, is an economist. We have several historians in the program and several political scientists, other political scientists. And yeah, so we have a great variety actually of teachers and faculty members from different backgrounds, from different fields of training. But all our common, focus is Europe, Russia, and Eurasia. So we have a geographical kind of focus in common. That's what makes our program also kind of unique. And also we offer study languages, right? So as you can perhaps already figured out, I'm by myself a German, and there are other people for most of us are actually from the region that students are studying, right? So we all have several language skills, and if you happen to speak German, you can feel free to speak to me in German. If you speak other languages, let's say Russian or Ukrainian, you might find someone also in our program, right? So I said already something about the course topics, the one I'm currently teaching, right? I'm teaching also a course regularly, which is about Europe and international migration. That's my specialty. We have someone teaching regularly courses on Balkans in transition, which is also really, really relevant. Russia, Soviet Union history, also the relations with China. That's something I'm doing myself as well. Democracy in the European Union. We have a strong focus on the European Union, or we should say European integration, European security, well, ever than important than now. And also the relations between the European Union and its eastern neighbors. Well, and we had a long focus always on Ukraine. And I think to understand what's going on between European Union, NATO, Russia, Ukraine, but also countries like Georgia or Moldova, I think it's very complex to understand that. And that's really essential to have this knowledge because it's not so straightforward as what you sometimes hear in the media, right? Why these conflicts and where this war originated. Yeah, we have also.
Professor Geiger. Just to kind of go off what the professor was saying, like many Juris courses that I've taken have been taught by people who lived through Soviet times. They lived in Eastern Europe or Russia or whatnot. So these are people who have on the ground experiences. They have personal, cultural, political experiences when it comes to the Soviet bloc and when it comes to the Cold War. And I think that's really amazing because that's getting more and more rare these days. So you have people who not only have good academic connections and know a lot just from their research and from what they've and from their jobs, but also just from a personal level, and they could tell you all sorts of stories and make personal connections. And it really puts a good touch on the courses because this is coming essentially from somebody who's there at the time, which is I think it's really cool.
That's really great. And also most of us have really this long this long durée kind of interest and experience in the region, right? Not just that some of us were born there, but also, as previously mentioned, are connected to really leading circles of decision makers, also in the European Union and in particular member states as well. And so right now, for example, I'm talking to you. I'm speaking to you from Germany, from Berlin, and I'm here because I happen to help some people to get out of Ukraine, and I'm telling this my students as well in my class currently, and I just mentioned it, right? So, and all my colleagues did the same. So my course is right now, it would be on the pandemic and how we overcome it. But of course, because the focus is on Europe and Russia and we cover the whole region, of course, I changed my course content. And we have now a lot of discussion of the war and how it unfolded, and also before how actually last year's events in Belarus and last year's events, or early this year's events in Kazakhstan. So as soon as something happens, and I can speak for all my colleagues, we adjust our course content and we focus definitely on what's going on. Same thing a few years ago, unfortunately, when terrorist attacks happened in Paris, I was teaching a course and I immediately changed it as well to cover that. And that's what we are doing at our institute. And we will have in a few weeks, for example, also again teach-in sessions talking about Ukraine, the war in Ukraine. We had recently a very successful event, very well attended event right after the war broke out. And I think more than 600 people attended this event with several speakers from our institute. And so we do it right away when something happens. We try also to respond to this, adjust our course content, what you're learning, and so on. So it's really, it's very timely, but also, let's say, sometimes a bit hands-on because the things are just developing. So students, have to go on media websites and so on. And it's perhaps not just dry academic literature because it's not published yet, right? But we look at think tank reports, political statements, media reports, and try to analyze these sources, right? In addition to what's traditionally done, academic literature and all that stuff, right? Yeah. So let's continue. Next slide, please. Yeah, so here you see an overview of our currently existing EUROS undergraduate programs. So we have the BA Honors in European and Russian Studies. We have the BA Combined Honors, and we have the Begins Specialization Europe and Russia in the World. That's what you're doing, right, Philip?
Yes, that's
Exactly.
my stream.
Yeah, and then we have a minor in European and Russian Studies as well. So what you see here listed in a very in a simplified overview, but actually quite straightforward, is the degree requirements that differ, of course, from these three streams, the language requirements, the knowledge gained, and yeah, in a way we could give you, in a nutshell, some advice if you're that kind of student, or if your interests are like these. Then it would be best you take this and that program. So just again, I was asking at the beginning whether you, the attendees, have a particular interest in one of these programs. If not, we would just go through basically all of them. But let's say if everyone here is just interested in one program, we could just make it very easy and just focus on that. So just write in the text in the chat box, please, whether you have a particular interest in one of these programs. And if I don't see anything, we just go forward and we'll talk about each program. Okay, someone said I'd be happy to hear about all of them. That we can do, definitely. Yeah, so let's just do that, right? I mean, what you see is, of course, that if you compare the BA Honors and the BA Combined Honors, right? So in the BA Honors European and Russian Studies, you would have most of the credits across the board. You would have most of the credits in EUROS requirements, right? You would have 10, while let's say in the minor, you would only have 4, right? So here, important thing is both the BA Honor in European and Russian Studies and BA Combined Honors, what you would necessarily have to do is to take a 1 credit econ in economics courses. And then what also is here is you have electives, right? Electives you have actually in all these programs. But yeah, that's the most important, actually. If you take one of the BA Honors program, the combined or the single standing BA Honor, you would have to take this econ course, right? And Philip, you didn't do that because you are in the Begins specialization stream. Maybe tell us a bit about your program, Philip, because I think it's usually very popular. It has become more and more popular. So it's perhaps good if you come in and tell us a bit about Begins specialization you're taking.
Yeah, for sure. So Begins is it's a very unique program because instead of doing an undergraduate Bachelor of Arts International Relations degree, it's kind of its own degree. It's kind of a degree of its own. So Begins, it covers international politics, kind of international migration, international cultures, pretty much everything across the board internationally. And yeah, I've enjoyed it a lot. And within Begins, oh man, I think there a dozen plus specializations, but one of those specializations is Europe and Russia. And so for this specialization, you take the normal Begins courses that you have to take. So this includes, global history, international law, that sort of stuff. And as well as that, you end up taking things like, what are some of the courses? Literature, European literature or Russian literature. You could choose, or you could do both. Right now I'm doing politics of European integration, which is quite interesting. Kind of just a general European and Russian history and current politics course where you learn about Cold War and kind of the preamble to the Cold War and the effects of the Cold War and economies in transition. So it's very much taking Europe and Russia and the world with regions. It's very much you're taking a very broad program where you're covering a lot of stuff, and that's particularly what I like a lot about URUS is that we cover history, cover politics, we cover culture, we cover literature, and in many ways you could kind of gear your career around any of that, right? Because a lot of us will go into university with kind of a thought like, hey, this is something I'm interested in, but I don't know what I want to do yet. And I think URUS is perfect for that because we cover so much stuff that it really prepares you for multiple career paths, and that's really great. And we also have a lot of connections when it comes to different career paths, whether it be think tanks, embassies, global affairs, whatnot, right? So in the government and the private sector, as well as in the academic sector, so this specialization and this program in general prepares you for a lot of potential avenues to go down.
Great. Philip, before you finish, what language do you have? Or did you do that with a test out, or did you have already language skills when you entered the program?
So I did French, which I had, like a lot of people in Ontario, you take the French courses you need, but to be honest, you don't learn that much. But yeah, I definitely learned a lot from my university French courses, and I wouldn't call myself fluent in French at all, but it's definitely something that I've been working on, and yeah, but there's a lot of options. There's German, Italian, Spanish, Russian, which is obviously quite relevant for our program. And even if you're a student who, and I'm not 100% sure about how many languages, but I know Polish counts. If you're a student who is already proficient in Polish, all you have to do is take a test, and you already get your language requirement.
Yeah. So many of our students actually also come already with the language, and we test them. So quite often, so that's done. And then you fulfill the language requirement, which you have to fulfill actually at the end of your studies, right? Not just not at the beginning. But some students come in and have these language skills, and we can exempt them then. Others are starting a language and then have to reach that level. And we have also a third group of students that already have all the language requirements and still take more languages because, especially in Europe, it's quite necessary to have multiple languages, right? So I speak myself like 4 languages fluent and a few more other less fluent, but this is just like normal thing in Europe, right? If you want to land an internship at the European Commission in Brussels, the expectancy is actually at least that you are fluent in 2 or 3 languages, working languages of the European Union. And since Brexit, it's actually, everything is still also in English, right? But since Brexit happened, actually German, French, and some other languages are quite in demand and needed as well. So the only
if I could jump in just real quick, like I do know people who just got jobs simply because they spoke another language, and
exactly.
And it's a lot. There's a lot of demand for people who are experts on a certain region or a certain country and speak that language, whether it's corporate or public interest. There's a lot of demand for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And so the only program listed here where you don't have to show any language requirement is the minor, which some people are taking in URUS. And why or what would you do the minor for? It simply would add this area studies expertise credential to your standalone other undergraduate degree program. So it's kind of an add-on. You could say that you are actually not, let's say, only a political scientist, but you have expertise, particularly in Europe, or you're not just a law student, but you're doing this minor and have then some expertise and insights into Europe, Russia, Eurasia, right? So this program, the minor, would be for people that are majoring in a degree program at the university and who wish to add this credential, right, this regional expertise. But other than that, let's say the three kind of main other programs, you see in a way what we give here advice, and maybe we can also answer your questions if you have later on what particular program you should choose if you have this and that interest. But basically, if you would take the BA honors, right, that's the most in-depth program. That's really very, very deep knowledge of the region. Also the ability to work in one of the region's languages. You also have that in the BA combined honors, but there you would simply combine with the other program, right? So you definitely, to a little less far extent, you have this area studies knowledge and language of the region, also the knowledge of the other discipline then as well, right? So this would be a good combination for people that wish to study in-depth area studies, namely Europe and Russia and Eurasia, and with training in a other disciplinary or interdisciplinary program. And yeah, if you're interested actually in receiving these slides, just send me an email. Later on, there will be my email address, so we can definitely also share this with you. So let's move on to the next slide. So here, this is the BA honors requirement, because we would like to show you these 10 credits, what you would have to take. And also here and there are some additional requirements then also listed, right? So I'll just leave that on here for a few seconds, and you can just read. I won't read it to you, but you can just go a bit through the list. So myself, I was teaching a few times Euros 2001. So all the courses have these course codes, right? You could also go on, let's say, Carleton has a public schedule, so a public schedule of Carleton. And if you know the course code, or if you just type in Euros, you would be able to see what courses are currently offered or in the previous term, and who was teaching these courses, right? So these current issues in European politics and society is a course you would have to take. Yeah, you see also literature and culture in Europe you would take. Then, yeah, you have quite a few other courses. Also, if you want, you can write an honors thesis in this program. And we have electives. And this is like, of course, Carleton has a really good program, and also especially our faculty, public affairs. So they list here over 150 courses from and so on, right? I guess it's more programs by now. This is a bit dated, right? So you would even have more choice here. Yeah, so the econ course was mentioned, and you have also 9 credit free electives you take from other programs and can choose. And if you're uncertain, or yeah, you would contact the undergrad supervisor, that's me, before taking one of these courses, and to make sure that this can be counted as an elective later on. So let's move on to the next slide. That would be the combined honors requirements. So just what you see, you have 3 credits less basically to take here. And a few courses are really the same. And yeah, so we have also here the language requirement. Either you come already with a language other than English, and you can show this to us, a certificate, or you or test it out if this is a program in our program, or yeah, complete then actually at Carleton language training. That's also possible. And here as well, you have to take this Econ 1000 one credit courses. And you have, of course, to fulfill the requirements of the other degree program, which is usually 7 credits, but you would have to check then actually with this other program. Maybe they have more or less, but usually it's around 7 credits. All right, let's move on. And then we have combined majors and minors. So just a few examples, right? Combine a major in euros, right? BA honors degree with, for example, history, political science is quite frequent, law is frequent, sociology, anthropology, journalism, economics, human rights, religion, geography, environmental studies, and many others are possible. You can also combine a major in euros with a minor in European language, or the discipline or indiscipline program of your choosing. And if you're not a euros major, we offer this minor program for BA students, which could we just go back to the previous slide, which was just on the next the previous another previous where we had the overview of all the program, right? So on the right side, you have this minor program, which might be attractive to some students as well. Yeah. Let's move on again. Sorry. Yeah, here. So sample first year, if you would be a Euros BA honors student, what would you take in your first year? So everyone would take Euros 1001, the language course. If you don't have the language yet, right? Then you would take also Econ 1001, is microeconomics, and Econ 1002, macroeconomics. And then a first year seminar in topic of your choice that's offered through Euros, and in an introductory course in a discipline of your choice. Other discipline, such as, for example, and now you see the acronyms of these other departments, right? History, HIST, or policy, political science, law, and so on. So here's a few examples, right? You would check basically once you come in as a new student, what's offered in your first year, right? It might be different courses. This is just a few examples, right? So that you could take, right? And there's a really, really long list what you can take. Yeah. Let's move on to next slide. Yeah, that's Philip programs. So Philip's program. So I'll hand over to him. And there's a website as well. If you just type in Google, let's say, or any other search machine, Carleton begins, then you would also find their website, right? But here's the link. And Begins offers this year specialization Philip is in. So I don't know, you already talked a bit about it, but if there's anything you wanted to add, what you didn't mention before, just feel free. Yeah, Philip.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I think what I forgot to add maybe is that specializing. I mean, you if you go into BGins, you have to specialize. So in case somebody new is here, I think somebody is new. I specialize in Europe and Russia and the world, which is why I'm connected to Eurus. And it's really great because it's almost like your specialization is your minor. So you're getting connections with two very good faculties with both BGins, where you have, profs who specialize in global affairs and international politics, international law. And these are also very, very, people who have a lot of experience. They have a lot of connections, and you are also associated with Eurus, who, like I've said before, also has tremendous connections, tremendous experience, all that. So yeah, it's definitely a good avenue to take if maybe you're interested in Europe and Russia, but that's not all you want to do. Maybe you very much like world politics and as well as Europe and Russia, but you want to kind of cover both avenues, and that's perfect for that.
Mm-hmm. Great. Yeah. So let's move on. So that's a typical overview of Philip's program, right? So you see here quite interesting. The core requirements, it's geography is included, ethnography, ethics and globalization, law, right? And yeah, so you would have to fulfill Begins has also language requirement, right? If you have that already in Euros, you have it also in Begins, and vice versa. And there's an international experience requirement included in Begins, which you don't have in Euros, but you have here this international experience requirement. We can actually answer this question about if someone interested in that, we can answer that at the end of our slides. Let's move on to the next slide. Yeah, here you see this overview. Yeah, again, what kind of courses you would have to take in Euros, foundational courses. And then you see that where you would take other credits from. As mentioned, we can easily share with you these slides, but as soon as you go into the program, yeah, flyers and so on of the various programs you're interested in, you can actually also find that. Let's move on. So here's a sample again, what we have, and yeah, you would always have like standard courses and then a great variety of courses in other discipline of your choice. So especially if you take Begins, I think while the BA combined and the BA standalone Euros is pretty straightforward, especially if you take Begins, I think you want to seek advice from different disciplines you're interested in, as well from the Begins office and their advisor, right? And then usually students come to me after seeing this advisor there. So probably if you're interested in that, I would definitely say talk at least to the Begins advisor as well, and then to me as well, and check other programs as well, and talk to these advisors, right? Because it's fairly complex, and you have a lot of choice, but you want to have the best advice, and so take as much as advice you can. Yeah, let's move on. So co-op and internship program, that's what we offer also in Euros. It was added 10 years ago. And well, you can actually gain paid work experience while completing your degree here, and complete 3 work term credits. And yeah, it opened up to students in Euros BA. So we can do that also we do that also for BA students now. And internship program is also available. It's open to qualified 4th-year BA students. And here you would combine coursework and practical hand-on experience. And you would also get academic credit toward your degree. And well, students, I mentioned that already earlier on. We have a lot of students that work for a foreign embassy, particularly if they have some kind of connection already to this country, maybe because parents once came from this country and so on. We see that quite often. Yeah. Philip, did you do something like an international experience program already in Begins?
Well, unfortunately, not yet. It's been tough with COVID.
Yeah.
So that's something that's we're working on, obviously, in Begins. Like a lot of students are kind of trying to get that done. But now that things are kind of opening up and COVID's slowing down, or maybe just our perception of COVID is slowing down, I think that's going to be normalized again. So if you guys decide to go into Begins, there is an international experience requirement, which is also very cool. But that was something that we struggled with because it was hard to actually go places for the past 2 years. But now I think that shouldn't be a problem for you guys, considering you have the next 4 years to do it, and hopefully within
possible again.
Yeah, it should be possible again. So I'm struggling with it right now, but you guys should be okay.
Thank you. Let's move on to the next slide. Yeah, study abroad. We have also students, and that's actually offered to a lot of Carleton students. So you can actually centrally apply also to go abroad for a while to study for a semester in other countries. And of course, most of our students in our program go to a country we are covering in our program, right? And to also then test their language skills there while being there. Yeah. Let's move on. Next slide. And we have summer opportunities as well, right? So we have each year's Carleton's Russian language program, which assists students of all levels in arranging spent from 4 to 6 weeks at the University of St. Petersburg. We hope at some point, maybe if there's any changes or whatever, but of course this is now what we had over many years, such program, but it's on hold, obviously due to the situation. We have had always prior to the pandemic the EU study tour, which brought students to Brussels to meet people from various EU institutions, and well, you could apply for this when entering the 4th year. And it also has an internship component, so you could apply for that and do then once your study tour is done. So it's a few days basically. Then you could just stay in Brussels, for example, and work for one of the EU institutions if you are getting an internship there. Yeah. Next slide. Yeah, and careers and future study. Actually, Philip and I, we just mentioned this various times now, where people end up that have taken our program. Actually, a lot of students continue their education and take a master's degree, either at Carleton or another university. We have a few students that also go into law school. Yeah, and especially if you're also like interested in government career and so on, it makes sense to continue in IR, in international relations, yeah, and deepen your let's say knowledge in diplomacy or something like that, right? So it makes great sense to continue doing this. Yeah. Next slide. Yeah, and this is just a little bit. I don't want to hear too long. We have the Center for European Studies, which is extraordinary. It's a really good center, and we are affiliated with the center. So the speakers Philip mentioned, we bring them in mostly from the through the Center for European Studies. What can you expect? Well, politicians from other member states of the European Union or wherever from the region traveling to Canada happen to come to Ottawa because Ottawa happens to be the capital of Canada, and we invite them to give a talk, right? So we had, let's say, the ambassadors of Canada to Russia, for example, or we had former politicians already. Yeah. So, and what we also have on campus is the MacAutumn Library, which is a pretty innovative, pretty modern university, has a huge collection, a lot of digital content as well. Let's move on.
We have a question in the chat.
Yes, let's come to this question in a second. Sure. So I think we managed that already. Well, we mentioned that already, the lectures, the conferences, the public events. Yeah, let's move on. Next slide. Yeah, and this is actually my last slide, and then we can take questions. So here's the contact information, and you see here my email. So maybe we just leave it here so that you can note down my email address, because I guess most questions can also be answered then by email. And the one question with the research trips, well, research trips, in a sense, for you to do research, there's a lot of other options you can take. If you're really interested, let's say, to conduct research for several months, let's say you're doing your own interviews and using that then, for your next steps in career or studies, there's a program called MyTex where you can actually apply and get funding. And then it's really research. You work with two profs, let's say one prof, let's say with me and another prof would be abroad in the country you're going to. And of course, this was on hold during pandemic, but we hope this is possible again. So research trips in a way that you conduct your own research, that's possible, but it goes with another program where you would have to apply to. And this program is Canada-wide, MyTex program. You can actually look for it, Google for it, MyTex, that's MITACS.ca, I guess. Yeah. And in terms of other trips, what we already mentioned was the EU study tour, where, let's say, you would go there with the group and you sit then actually in a, let's say, conference room at the European Commission. Some speakers come in, you ask questions. So this is in a way also kind of a research trip, but not you yourself doing, let's say, interviews all by yourself, right? That's a different kind of thing. And then we have the co-op and the internships, right? Which is in a way, if you do an internship, let's say in a think tank, it might have the quality or very similar to a research trip in that sense, right? But yeah, it depends. Yeah, what you want to do. Yeah. Any other question? If not, please, the questions you still have, send them to martin.geiger@carleton.ca, and I would be happy to answer them. And if it's also that you want to get in touch with students or get student opinion, I guess we can also ask Philip or other students in our program then to respond and help.
Yeah, sure. I could drop my email really quick in the chat.
Yes. Yeah. I always give students or potential students the advice to also reach out to students, right, that are in the program. Yeah. Great. Yeah. So there's Philip's email and mine you saw on the slides.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. Yeah. Thank you so very much for all of your expertise, and for Philip, your insight into the program. I think that's really helpful for everyone listening in today. So if you are listening in, there's still lots to check out in our student services booths and our academic booths. Feel free to jot down these contact information, the emails that you that are in the chat there to follow up if you have any other questions. But thank you so much, Dr. Geiger, and for Philip, for your time. Appreciate it. And for everyone listening,
thank you so much, Sarah, for helping us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Philip.
I hope we see you next fall.
Yes.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you, and thanks for attending, everyone. And please don't be shy. Send us any question you have. Yeah. Goodbye.
Bye.